Alright, this will be the last video for Unit 6, Eukaryotic Cells. And the next two pages in our notes, page 6.5 and 6.6, are just pictures of representative cell types. On page 6.5 we have a representative picture of a plant cell, and on page 6.6 we have a picture of an animal cell. Now, there are many different pictures, many different models, different photographs you will see of cells, so this is just one example of many. Now we took time in class to color the various organelles, some of the various organelles in these different pictures, and it is your responsibility to learn to identify these organelles from these pictures or maybe other similar pictures for your test. Now just really quickly I'll go through these. Okay, so the first structure that we see is a cell wall. Okay, the cell wall is the structure that is colored dark green all around the outside of the cell. That is only present in plant cells. Well, it's present in plant cells. It is not present in animal cells. Fungal cells and bacterial cells also have cell walls. We're just looking at plant cells and animal cells right now. Cell membrane is just inside of that. It is labeled B, and that is colored pink, as we colored it in class. The cytoplasm is sometimes referred to that as cell jelly. That is labeled C, and it is just white or colorless in our picture. And the various organelles that we looked at, the nucleus is colored red in our picture. Inside of the nucleus we have the nucleolus, which I also had you color red as well. You can make it out in the drawing there as sort of a smaller nucleus within a nucleus is kind of what the nucleolus looks like. Next we have chloroplasts, which are unique structures to plant and algal cells, and those are labeled with the letter F up here. I had you color those a lighter green color, a little lighter than the cell wall. The next structure are the mitochondria, plural. Those are labeled G, and those I had you color dark blue. After the mitochondria, we have the endoplasmic reticulum. Those are labeled H, and we have both smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is up here on the top. This one I'm circling right now, labeled H, has attached ribosomes. That's rough endoplasmic reticulum. The first H I circled is labeling smooth endoplasmic reticulum because there are no attached ribosomes. The letter I labels vesicles. Now these are a little difficult to see in this particular drawing. They look like they're little circles in the cell. Those are they're colored brown as we colored them in class, and they're the larger of the two small circular structures within the cell. And the smaller of those would be the ribosomes, which I had you color black. The next structure is the vacuole. It's the large light blue structure here in the center of the cell. Plant cells tend to have very large central vacuoles which hold a lot of water. And labeled K, we have our ribosomes, and we have ribosomes that are attached to the nucleus. They're attached to the rough, attached to the nucleus right here, attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum here, and we do even have some free floating ribosomes like this one right here. Now to distinguish these from the vesicles, I basically had you sort of draw a line in your mind size-wise. The smaller little circles you could call ribosomes, and the larger circles you could call the vesicles. And the last structure that we have here is the Golgi Apparatus, which I had you color purple. It looks similar in structure to the endoplasmic reticulum, but it is much more organized, sort of just a stack of membranes. Alright, that's it for the plant cell. Now we'll look at the animal cell. Alright, on page 6.6 we have our animal cell, and a lot of animal cells and plant cells have a lot of the same structures. This drawing, I actually like this drawing a little better. The structures are a little bit clearer to see. Alright, I will go through these really quickly again. Animal cells do not have a cell wall, but they do have a cell membrane, just like all other cells. I had you color the cell membrane pink. It's labeled A right there. The nucleus and the nuclear membrane and the nucleolus, that's L, B, and C. There's B and C, and here is L. These, I had you color all of these the same color, had you color them red. And also within the nucleus, we have the chromatin, which is actually the DNA that's stored within the nucleus. We haven't talked about that in class very much. All of that I had you color red, though. Within the cytoplasm, outside of the nucleus in the cytoplasm, the mitochondria, I tried to stay consistent with the plant cells. The mitochondria I had you colored dark blue. Right there's one right there. The Golgi Apparatus, like in the plant cell, is labeled F. I had you color that purple like the plant cell. The next structure, centrioles, are structures that you cannot see in plant cells, but you can see them in the animal cells, and it looks like I had you color them a green color. It's kind of a turquoise kind of green color. And the next structure, vesicles, which are like little bubbles within the cell. They're little membrane sacs that carry materials. I had you label those as, or they're labeled H here. I had you color them brown. And also the next structure, lysosomes, which are labeled I. I had you color those yellow. You can see them surrounding little vesicles here because what happens, I'm going to draw an arrow here to one. There's a vesicle that's got 3 attached lysosomes. Remember, they're like little floating stomachs, and they would fuse with a vesicle or a food vacuole, as they're sometimes called, and release digestive enzymes into that structure to digest whatever's in there. And you don't see those as much in plant cells, so that's a structure that would be unique in our drawings, at least for the animal cell, along with the centrioles are unique to the animal cells. The plant cell structures that are unique to the plant cells are things like the chloroplast and the cell wall in our 2 drawings. Okay, the next structure are the ribosomes, and in this particular picture, I like how the ribosomes are drawn. They're just drawn as little black dots because they are very small, and they're labeled J right there. I just circled. And then next, finally, we have the endoplasmic reticulum, which is labeled K, and I had to color that orange in both the plant cell and the animal cell. And you can see that we have, I just circled the letter K that leads to rough endoplasmic reticulum with attached ribosomes. Over here on the upper right side, this letter K right here is labeling smooth endoplasmic reticulum, which does not have attached ribosomes. All right, that's it for our animal cell. Now we'll go on to the last page of our notes, page 6-7. All right, now this page is really just kind of a summary of various cell components, cell organelles, their functions, and whether or not they are present or absent in, in different cell types. Now, if you remember from our previous unit, prokaryotic cells are those cells that do not have a nucleus or membrane-bound organelles, and the generic term for that type of cell is bacteria. This unit we are studying eukaryotic cells. Those are cells that are defined as having a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles. And we have 2 categories here. We have plant and animal cells, but there are other categories within the eukaryotic cell type, such as fungal cells, that we're not going to get into in this unit. All right, so we'll go through we will go through each of these cell types and go down a column and state whether or not this organelle does occur in these different cell types, because this is something that you should know. Get rid of these lines here and we'll get started. Okay, so first we'll look at cytoplasm. In bacteria, that is present at the site of biochemical reactions, the cell jelly. We look at the nucleus in bacteria. Nucleus is absent in bacteria, that in prokaryotic cells. That is one of the characteristics of prokaryotic cells, that they do not have a nucleus. Next we look at the cell membrane. The cell membrane is present in bacterial cells, prokaryotic cells. It controls the passage of materials into and out of the cell. All cells have a cell membrane. Bacterial cells also have a cell wall, functions for additional support outside of the cell, outside of the cell membrane. Prokaryotes do not have mitochondria. Those are absent. Mitochondria is a membrane-bound organelle, so those are not present in prokaryotic cells. Likewise, they do not have lysosomes. They do, however, have ribosomes, which are really just sort of very large. They're almost like very large organic molecules. They're sort of considered an organelle, but they are not surrounded by a membrane, and they're responsible for making proteins, which all living things use proteins. So prokaryotes do have ribosomes. They do not have an endoplasmic reticulum, though, because that is a membrane-bound organelle. They do not have chloroplasts, again, membrane-bound organelles. And likewise, they do not have Golgi apparatus or vesicles within their cells. So prokaryotes are very simple. They only have a couple of these organelles and cell components. All right, so next we'll look at plant cells. The first eukaryote we'll look at are the plants. So we look at plants. They do have cytoplasm like all cells. They do have a nucleus. This is a defining characteristic of eukaryotic cells, of which plants are. They do have a cell membrane like all cells. Also, plant cells have a cell wall that is distinctive, and they do have mitochondria to perform cellular respiration. Now, they do have lysosomes present, however, they are present in much smaller amounts, and our drawing of a plant cell that we colored did not even have lysosomes in it for us to draw. They do have them, so it's not really correct to say they don't, but they are far more common. We would see them in animal cells, but they are present in plant cells. They have ribosomes. They do have endoplasmic reticulum to function in the transport of molecules and also the synthesis of proteins and lipids. They do have chloroplasts, and this is one of the characteristics of plant cells, is that they have chloroplasts and perform photosynthesis. They do have a Golgi apparatus to sort and package organic molecules made within the cell and send them out where they need to go, like the post office. And they do have vesicles that are used to transport these organic molecules that are sent around. Okay, finally we will look at animal cells. Animal cells, like all cells, do have cytoplasm. Animal cells are eukaryotes, and all eukaryotic cells have a nucleus that contains the DNA and the RNA and controls the cell activities. They do have a cell membrane controlling passage of substances into and out of the cell. They do not, however, have a cell wall. One of the characteristics of animal cells is they are one of the few cell types, along with a couple of or some types of protists, that do not have a cell wall. Excuse me. Next, we have mitochondria. All eukaryotic cells have mitochondria to perform cellular respiration to help to break down their food products and produce energy. They do have lysosomes present in their cells, these little floating stomachs that carry digestive enzymes to deal with invading bacteria and viruses and break down old cells, that sort of thing. They have ribosomes, like all cells have ribosomes. All cells need to make proteins. So the way that they do this is through the activity of ribosomes. They have endoplasmic reticulum that again functions in helping to transport molecules, produce or synthesize proteins and lipids. Animal cells, however, unlike plant cells, do not have chloroplasts because animal cells do not perform photosynthesis. Chloroplasts, by the way, are the organelle that gives plants their green color. Animal cells do not have chloroplasts. We do not perform photosynthesis. Human beings have animal cells. Next we have the Golgi apparatus. The post office of the cell is present in animal cells. And finally, vesicles are also present in animal cells. All right, so you should be able to be given any one of these cell components. You should be able to tell me its function, and you should be able to tell me if it is present or absent in bacterial or prokaryotic cells, eukaryotic cells, whether it's present in plant cells, and animal cells. You should be able to essentially answer any cell within this table. All right, that's it for our Unit 6 notes.